Welcome into the Heat Report by Chad Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and we have a lot of roster moves to go over as the Heat trim down their preseason roster to their regular season roster with the first game of the season upcoming this Wednesday against the Orlando Magic. But before we get into all of that, hit that thumbs up icon if you're excited for the season to get started on Wednesday. Let's get over 300 likes on this video. All right, so the Heat upgraded a player to a two-way contract, waived a bunch of guys. Let's start with the upgraded player to the two-way contract. That is guard Jahmir Young. Now, if you have been subscribed and watching our content the past couple of weeks and in the preseason, I've been telling you that if I would have expected anybody on the current Heat roster, whether it is the Exhibit 10 guys or people that didn't have a standard NBA contract, to get the two-way, I always thought it would have been Jahmir Young. He has been the most impressive to me. The former Maryland guard played extremely well for the Chicago Bulls in the Summer League this past summer in Vegas, had a 40-point game for the Bulls squad and showcased his scoring ability throughout the preseason for Miami, appearing in 4 of the 6 preseason games, playing about 19 minutes a night, and he averaged 9 points. Nothing crazy, shot 45% from the field, but shot 50% from 3 on 2 attempts per game. So to me, watching Jahmir Young, you see his creativity, you see his shot-making ability, and it's a guard worth keeping around because I do believe in an absolute crazy pinch, he would be able to be playable at least in some degree. We've seen him appear in some NBA games, but nothing crazy. And with the Heat being so lackluster at guard due to Precious Achiuwa's injury, Tyler Hero's injury, Rozier being a little bit banged up, but we did see him in that final preseason game, which we'll touch on here in just a second. I think it was just really smart to keep another guard away or on the roster when it comes to a two-way contract. Remember, you can play in around 40 games in the regular season on a two-way deal, but you're ineligible for the playoffs. So Miami can pick and choose their spots with Young if they want to bring up to the active big league roster at any point throughout the season. Now, if you are not aware, the 3 two-way contract players after the Jahmir Young upgraded contract is Young, is Vlad Goldin, and then guard/forward Myron Gardner. So those 3 will exclusively play in the G League, and then if the Heat have an injured player at guard or forward or just would like to have a third big in rotation, maybe they bring up Vlad Goldin from time to time, but I doubt it because Goldin really didn't play at all in the preseason. Like, I was stunned by the lack of usage from Vlad Goldin. He only appeared in 3 games and played 8 minutes a game in those 3, so it's not like the Heat were showcasing his talents whatsoever. So very hit or miss on Mr. Vlad Goldin, but those are the 3 two-way contracts for the Miami Heat entering the regular season. Let me know, are you happy that Jahmir Young got the final two-way contract, type Y for yes or type N for no? All right, the player that Miami waived was actually, well, they did a lot of them, but Precious Achiuwa was the one that caught the most attention, right? Miami signed him to a non-guaranteed standard contract right before training camp ultimately began. I was pretty excited about that because, one, this is the former 20th pick in the 2020 draft by the Miami Heat. We talked all offseason about how Miami needed to add a third big to this group because all they had was Adebayo and Kel'el Ware, and if they plan on starting the 2 together, you have no true backup center because I don't view Jovic as a center. He is more of a wing/forward, and I don't want to play him at the small ball 5 really anymore in his career. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but Precious not being here certainly makes it more likely. And when you think about the Heat rotation, yeah, Kel'el Ware and Bam started together in the final 2 preseason games of the season. I still don't think it's smart to start the 2 together. And I know Ware looked awesome in the preseason. He was the Heat's leading scorer, leading rebounder. He actually led the preseason in rebounds total. He did play in all 6 preseason games for Miami. One of 2 players, or excuse me, like 4 players to do that. Yeah, the only 4 players that did play all 6 preseason games were Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez, Kashad Johnson, and Myron, Gardner. So those were the only four. But Ware played a ton of minutes, and he dominated. He looked great, and that's how it should be. A second-year center that's emerging, you would have expected him to dominate if playing a ton of minutes against other teams, backups, and third-string type of guys. That's the type of Kel'el Ware that you were hoping to see in the summer league, but just ultimately did not get. Either way, though, I still think it's smart to stagger the two. I think Jovic in the starting lineup makes a ton of sense. He should be ready to go for Wednesday's season opener as he's returning from some back soreness. I think they just kept him out as a precaution. He did practice late last week, so I feel very good about Nico being ready to roll to start the year. And with him, he just brings so much spacing, so much ball handling, and the flow of the offense just works so much more smooth with Jovic in that group. He makes Norman Powell better. He makes Andrew Wiggins better. He makes Bam better. He makes Ware better, too, when they play together. The point I'm trying to make is Jovic is one of your best 5 players. You paid him like that, and he should be in that starting 5 because you absolutely need his creativity and secondary ball handling with a unit that lacks creation since Tyler Hero is going to be out for at least the first 2-3 weeks of the regular season. And then we see how quickly he can actually return and heal. But Kel'el Ware started that game, but I still think Jovic should absolutely be in the starting 5. And we'll circle this back to close out Precious Achiuwa's conversation. Miami may bring him back. We saw the Warriors do this. They waived Seth Curry, not Steph, Seth. And they also announced that they plan to bring him back in a month at the end of November, early December. And this is all cap related. You have different contracts and different cap hits. If the Heat wanted to, they could sign a veteran big man, keyword veteran, in free agency in the first 2 weeks of December, and then their cap hit for the year would be significantly less. So the cap hit for Precious signing him in December, hypothetically, or any veteran big for the rest of the year is about $1.4 million. Right now, if you kept Precious Achiuwa for the entire year, it would be 2.2. Miami is 1.7 underneath the luxury tax. So I'll say this. If you start Precious on the year and you kept him on the roster the entire year, you would have either had to waive Rozier before January 10th and his contract became guaranteed, or you would have had to waive Precious by January 10th before his contract becomes guaranteed if you wanted to stay underneath the luxury tax. That is barring any other trade. So it was more or less a money move in the Heat betting on themselves and their ability to survive the first month of the season, basically, with not a third big. And then I do expect Miami to sign a center in December when they are allowed to without it having a big cap hit. Make sure you are subscribed because when the season begins, we'll be live on Wednesday. We also update you on everything Miami Heat, roster move, rumors. We got you covered, so join the family here at the Heat Report. Other players waived by the Miami Heat, very simple, Dainja, Mbeng, and Ethan Thompson. Mbeng was signed to an Exhibit 10 right before the last preseason game, and the Heat waives Steve Settle. That is just roster movement stuff there. All of those players will likely land on the Miami Heat G League team, that Sioux Falls squad. We know they like Dainja to a degree. He was on the Summer League team. The UDFA out of Memphis was with the preseason roster and will likely join Sioux Falls. Ethan Thompson could be a sought-after guy. He played really well in the G League last season, so maybe a team gives him a look for their two-way spot since he was waived by Miami. Ultimately remains to be seen, but I would bet Mbeng, former Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year from Yale, Thompson and Dainja all end up on the Heat's G League team alongside Steve Settle, alongside Gabe Madsen. We'll see when that becomes official, but I do expect all those guys to stay with the Miami Heat in some capacity. All right, before we get out of here on today's show, I did want to talk about Terry Rozier's debut in the preseason. He only played about 10, 11 minutes in that game, had 4 points, 2 of 4 from the field, missed 1 3-point attempt. But I actually thought I liked what I saw from Terry for the most part. He looked fresh, which you would have expected since he hasn't played in a while. He looked a little bit more free. It is the preseason. We'll see what happens in the regular season if he gets any minutes. He actually kind of preached to the choir, if you will, after the game about just wanting a fair shot to crack this Heat rotation, because I think he knows the writing on the wall about him being on the outside looking in and likely not a featured player this season, entering the final year of his deal at that price point and all the drama surrounding him. It'll be fascinating to see how Terry Rozier ultimately does this season. If he's able to come back and contribute anything this year, it would be very great if he did. That would be an added bump for this Heat bench if they could get not even the Rozier that Miami thought they were going to get when they traded for him a couple of years ago at the deadline, but if they got 60% of that. Rozier was averaging 20 points a game when they traded for him, and he was pretty solid the last couple of months of the year for Miami and then just fell off a cliff last season. If you could just give me 65, 70% of the 23-24 Terry Rozier off the bench, that would be a massive win for the Miami Heat. And we'll see what ultimately happens. We're going to take a look at some more rumors. We got some Tyler Hero discussions to have before the season opener on Wednesday. So make sure you subscribe. We got 2 videos going out before the Wednesday season opener. We'll have a preview of night 1. We'll have some rumors. So hit that sub button. Follow your boy on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. And boy, Miami Heat basketball is officially here. The next time they lace them up, it will really count for regular season action. I'm fired up for it. Hope you are too. And I hope to see you on Wednesday in our live show. Peace out and go Heat.